Yo, what's going on everybody, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be ranking what are, in my opinion, the top 5 best moves this offseason. Now, these can be signings and free agency, these can be re-signings and free agency. For example, well, I won't spoil it, you'll see later on in the video. Or it can be trades, like, hint hint, the blockbuster trade that we just saw and that I called earlier. But anyway, enough about me and my prediction skills. Let's go ahead and get into the video. Coming in at number 5, and to start off the video, we've got Karl Lawson being signed as a free agent by the New York Jets. As a Bengals fan myself, as many of y'all already know, Karl Lawson was a tough player to see leave the Bengals. He was a guy who, looking at a team like the Bengals, weren't the best at getting pressure on the quarterback, didn't get a lot of sacks, but much of the pressure they were getting was in large part due to Karl Lawson's impact on the defensive line, and it's the impact he had on the defense in general. I mean, this was a defense that struggled mightily throughout the season, but Lawson was one of the few bright spots, just creating havoc on the defensive front. He's getting picked up by the New York Jets, by a team who's made a lot of moves this offseason. I mean, looking at, well, I'll get to some other moves later this season, but a team and a franchise that is bringing in a lot of new life, new head coach, obviously drafted Sam Darnold high in the draft. So it'll be very interesting to see what this franchise can do, you know, with the players that they brought in. But Karl Lawson, you know, I believe that any team is a guy that will bring, you know, just pressure, can wreak havoc in the defensive backfield, and I think can make an impact immediately for the New York Jets. Coming in at number 4, we've got Joe Thuney signing a free agent deal with the Kansas City Chiefs coming from the New England Patriots. Now, this is a move that has been very controversial, for lack of a better word. A move that some people love and some people hate within the Chiefs fan base and organization. Now, Joe Thuney is a tremendous offensive lineman, and I think will be the Chiefs' left guard of the future and gives them a much needed boost to an area that was not the best at times during the season. I mean, just look at the offensive line performance during the Super Bowl for the Chiefs. I mean, just absolutely abysmal, and led to the Chiefs getting thrashed in the Super Bowl. But the downside about the Joe Thuney signing is the contract, right? So he was given a 5-year, $80 million deal, which is quite a lot for an organization that has not been the best at getting deals over the past few years. They've got many guys who have had some big misses, you know, on some big deals. And so it'll be interesting to see how Joe Thuney plays out. And really, I mean, looking at the Chiefs the last couple of years, it's a guy they really need to work out. They cannot afford to have another big miss, especially at a position like this, a position of need for the Kansas City Chiefs. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. In my opinion, though, Joe Thuney, solid guy, been very solid throughout his career with the Patriots, and I think will really bolster the Chiefs' offensive line, and will be a good signing overall for the franchise. At number 3, we've got Kenny Golladay signing a free agent contract with the New York Giants, coming from the Detroit Lions. Now, Kenny Golladay is a very solid player, very good wide receiver who I think will make an immediate impact with the Giants. Looking at the Giants and looking at the Giants' offense in particular, they've lacked a real weapon at the wide receiver position over the past couple of seasons. I mean, ever since Odell Beckham left, they've really just lacked somebody to make plays for them in the passing game. They've got a young quarterback, Daniel Jones, who I think is decent, and I think give him a weapon and maybe a couple more weapons like this, I think he can be a very good quarterback, and this can be a really good offense. I mean, looking at Saquon Barkley, if he can be the same when he comes back from injury, he is one of the best playmakers in the NFL at the running back position. So I think this is going to turn out to be a very good signing for the Giants. He signed a 4-year, $72 million deal, which is a lot, but I think for a guy like that, it is very much worth it. A guy who's still young, only played 5 games last season, but looking at his 2019 season, set career highs in both yards and touchdowns with 1,190 yards and 11 touchdowns. I think this guy is going to be an absolute beast for the Giants, and I think was a very good move overall on the New York Giants' part. At number 2, we've got a different kind of move compared to the other moves in this list. Not an open market free agent signing like the others, but just due to the nature of how much of a steal I believe this is. At number 2, we've got Shaquille Barrett re-signing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on a 4-year, $68 million deal at just $17 million per year. Now, I say this is such a great deal and only $17 million because we're looking at a guy like Shaquille Barrett, who's had 27.5 sacks over his last 2 seasons with the Buccaneers, just been an absolute force in that division and in that defensive front with the Bucs. A guy that would have been signed for upwards of $20 million in the open market, in my opinion. For the Bucs signing him for just $17 million, I mean, that's a major steal, in my opinion, looking at what other teams probably would have paid for him if he had went into the open market. I expect him to lead a Bucs defense that was already very good last year, and a truth that I don't think gets talked about enough when it comes to the success of that team. I mean, everyone likes to talk about the offense and Tom Brady and all the weapons they have over there, but looking at that defense that I really believe is anchored by Shaquille Barrett, he's a very important part of that, and to see him return to the Bucs for that kind of price is going to be huge for the team going forward. I think it's a great signing. And number one, I think you can already probably guess by now what this is going to be. We've got Julio Jones, Tennessee Titans, the move that I predicted and said the Tennessee Titans must make happen. And look what happened. It did. What a trade. I mean, what an absolute deal that the Titans got. I mean, I've already made a whole video about what I think Julio Jones would bring to the Titans, so I'm not going to ramble for too long about how I feel about that. But what I will say is, I mean, this is just a great deal overall for the Titans. I mean, the Titans, they lose a 2nd round pick and a 4th round pick, but they get a guy who is arguably the best wide receiver in the league and can go with an offense that is already a very good offense, and adding a guy like this, it's scary what I think this offense can do in the next few years, and I think this team will truly be a contender in the AFC with the addition of Julio Jones. Some will say, oh, well, you know, he's a little bit older and it's a lot of money, it can affect their cap space. Well, that's all true, but I think when you get a superstar like this, taking those kind of risks is worth it. And I really don't think his age is much of a risk. I mean, he is still shown, he had, you know, the odd knock on his hamstring, you know, a little bit last season, but he's still the same quality. His quality has not dropped at all. He's still got that step. He's still going strong even at his age. And I think it's going to be a great player for the Titans, and it's going to revolutionize the Titans offense and really turn them into a contender out of the AFC. Yo, thank y'all so much for watching. Apologize for lack of uploads in the last week or two. Just been a pretty busy time for me. But from now all the way to the end of the off season, I should say, weekly uploads at the minimum. I'm excited to get more and more content out all the way up into the regular season, where I want, you know, just absolutely go crazy, and that's where I really want to take the next step with this channel. But yeah, with that being said, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this, and let me know what y'all thought in the comment section below if I missed anyone. And yeah, with that being said, till next time, Godspeed.